Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. Looking forward to a weekend out at the June Classic. Saturday, come check us out. You're coming out to the ballpark. We'll be at Ozzie Smith's Sports Complex for the June Classic. We'll have the mobile studio out there. We got the mobile Prime Sports Midwest store going to be out there. Great stuff happening. We got interviews all day. We're doing baseball trivia, specifically St. Louis Cardinals. We're giving away baseball cards. We got some YBM merch. We got a lot of stuff happening, a lot of fun. Make sure you get by and see us. We love talking to the players. It's just Saturday at the ballpark. We're having some fun. Sunday, of course, our 14U championship game. Got a pretty good weekend of 14U baseball. So make sure, come by and see us. Game7Baseball.com. On the Prime Sports Midwest call-in link, we're joined by the Class 6 state champions, head coach of the Blue Springs Wildcats, Tim McElligott. Coach, thanks for taking the time to come on and talk to us.
My pleasure. Looking forward to it.
You're right in the middle of your camp, right? The youth camp.
Yeah. The head coach decided to have his youth camp Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we've got 100 little kids running around the field right now. So it was kind of poor planning on my part.
That's a good group, 100 kids. Is that pretty normal for you guys on a camp?
Yeah. I've been doing this for about 15 years. We go 2nd through 8, 2 sessions, and we've had any as low as 80, as high as 130. So, and the players, this year, all the players are back. They coach it. I think they have more fun than the little kids.
Hey, you know what? And what's cool is, do a lot of your players come back and work with you in the camps?
Yes. Yeah. We've had as many, I think we had 12 yesterday. I know a lot of them kind of bolt to go on vacation. The best one in the years past has been Cole and Nick Gibbler, and they took off for Florida Sunday night. And, just kind of kids they are, they were kind of upset that they couldn't work it. But they have a lot of fun doing it. And, it's kind of special, and all the players on this team, they've been coming since 3rd grade. Drew McConnell, Nick, Cole, Lincoln, they came every year. So, you kind of get to know them when they're 8, 9 years old and just watch them grow and grow through the program.
I think that's a key to some of these things. It's special. State championships don't happen often. I think the last time Blue Springs won was, you said 07. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, that's quite a distance between championships, isn't it?
Yeah. And, and that's what we talked about this, all year, getting 5 outs away from last year. It really motivated them. And those 07 guys, I think we had 4 that drove down from that team. And then when I got on the bus, there were 14 or 15 that reached out. And that's kind of, our goal. We tell the kids, it's not the 4 years that you're with us. You've got us for life. And, Kyle Barbeck off that 07 team went to Mississippi. Then he finished at Mizzou. He was at the district tournament. And he's followed. He was, felt like a player again. Him and Cole kind of bonded. I got a real good picture of them walking out after Cole beat South. And Cole didn't know who he was because he'd never met him. But, we got on the bus and Cole said, I remember watching him when I was little. And it's just that bond here, and that's the big thing with us. It's not 4 years, it's life. And, even my assistant coaches, all of them played for me. They all went back, got their teaching degree. And we've been together for a long time now, which that's just good because there's no changeover. They're Blue Springs kids, and they want to be here. So that's pretty cool.
We'll be joined by Kevin Moulder and Scott McGee here soon. But one of the things, Coach, that you're alluding to there that Kevin and I discuss a lot, and he's always we talk about this so much, is culture and building a program,
Yes.
which it's not easy to do, but these are the types of things that help build the culture and keep the program successful. Correct?
Oh yeah, yeah, and like I said, Nick Tepish, he was a pitcher on that '07 team. He was fifth starter for the Rangers for a few years. I mean, he's texting. And they all follow. We had Brent Kramer off the '99 team last time we won. I mean, Brent's in his 40s. I mean, was just as happy as could be, and we've stayed in touch, and he and I play golf. It's really cool that those older guys, are still involved. And that's what we talked about. It's, go out, take care of business. You're going to have a bond forever. What's your legacy going to be? And these kids will be the same. No matter how big, no matter how small they become, they'll always be a part of it. And that's the cool thing about Blue Springs High School. It's I've been here 27 years, and it's incredible the support we get from admin, from our superintendent Bob Jerome. It's just a family atmosphere.
There you go. Coach, I want to look at your weekend a little bit here. You were playing two very good teams in facing off against Francis Howell in the semifinal under difficult conditions, to say the least. And it's fair, and I know Coach Perkins. He said same thing. Everybody's got to face the same conditions. Both teams are out there. But talk to us about that. I mean, that was just how do you get through that?
I'm still in awe. You're 6 hours. I don't think it stopped raining the entire time. It's that will, and I think Cole said it after the game when we were on with you. They wanted the ring, and there was nothing going to stop them. And Cole Gibbler, the future for him is off the charts, and it's never been about Cole. It was kind of unfortunate he only got to throw 2 innings, because he is very good. But he wasn't mad. He wasn't, it was about the team. He's put the team first, this whole year and his whole 4-year career, but especially this year with all, the accolades, the draft status with him. But then Nick's a starter, and, he goes, whatever it takes to win. And I didn't know how they'd respond, especially after the second one. But like I said, it was that getting within 5 outs last year just motivated them. And you saw it in the off season, you saw it during the year. And we talked about, it's hard to win 36 games. Nobody's going to go 36-0. In our conference with Liberty North, Blue Springs South, Ray Peck, and Lee Summit West, you're playing 3-game series. It's tough. And that really helped us for the grind. But I think that was a big part of it. But I can't be more proud of the kids because, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've never been a part of something like that. That was something. But that's just a testament to them, and their will to reach their goal.
And that to me says it all. That was just a attrition in a sense of, you have dynamic players on both sides. You're in these elements that is not conducive to baseball. And then you're having to deal with these things. It becomes a mental application of what you're doing rather than, the physical is there. We all know that. But then you're dealing with these elements. You're on the field and, because you're having to overcome some errors, not necessarily because of play, but just because of the elements as well, correct?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And like I said, they were mentally tough, but our group this year was very loose. I found out after the second rain delay, and again, they were all playing hacky sack
Right.
down in the hit house. And, and my pitching coach comes back and he goes, well, they're playing hacky sack. And I go, okay. And, he asked Lincoln, are you going to hit? And he goes, yeah, I'm good. And this next at bat, he laces a triple. And that's the way they've gone about this, especially Lincoln, Nick, and Cole. They started from day one. Their personalities are off the charts. And when we brought Lincoln in against Lafayette, and this is just Lincoln, we brought him in from center. He didn't warm up. And my pitching coach comes in and I go, how is he? And he goes, well, he looked at me and said, we probably should have done that 2 batters ago, but I'm good. It's just, he is, I mean, you see him's getting one great kid. I mean, the stories after the fact, I know why my pitching coach and nobody told me anything. So, but that's just them.
What
they're
took
going to
you
be
so
missed.
long,
I mean,
Coach?
like I told you. Yeah, what took you so long? But they're so funny. I told you, you get a unicorn in your career, and this was the unicorn. I only have 2 years left, and I'm going to walk out the door with my son. But it was special to go out, with this group. But they're so much fun, but like I said, I could tell you story after story that my coaches didn't tell me till the bus ride home. So,
Well, I love that.
But yeah,
I'm sorry, I got to get this. Oh, man. Sometimes chords are not pleasant. Sorry about that, Coach. Okay, there we go. That's hilarious because hitting is not easy anyway. And I'm good. No. I'm just going to go out and bang a triple. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm going to finish the hacky sack game real quick. And yeah, I'm good. So, but that's Lincoln. I mean, so it worked out.
It did work out. And the championship game, Coach, oh my goodness. You guys jumped out quick, or Lafayette jumped out quick. And I thought, wow, okay, well, that's interesting. Because, Lafayette, they started slow and whatnot. I see Lafayette here because we're in this area. So I knew a little bit more about them. And I was like, this could be interesting. They're coming off that big no-hitter that Oswald threw.
Yeah.
But wow. I don't think I've ever seen that many runs scored in myself just at a game in one inning between two teams. That third inning was crazy. What was your emotions going through all that?
Well, I mean, when Ronan hit the 375-foot single, I'm figuring everybody's going to score, and I look up and Barrett Jones, who was courtesy running, he was knocked out. I mean, and I'm like, what just happened? Yeah. And I didn't know what happened till I watched the video, later, and I couldn't believe it, and that goes back to that could have been horrible.
Yes.
I mean, it could have been a triple play. If right. Nick passes Barrett, if Nick's trying to get him up, if Ronan's just running between bases, that could have been, something. And they didn't crack. And, when you get up 9-2, Coach Dumont, what he did, I mean, he's a great young coach. Yeah. He's got a bright future. We had a little, and I told him after the game upstairs in the concourse, what you did, I mean, he was bunting 9-14 times a game. And, making everybody defend it. Reminds me a lot of Kurt Bragg from Liberty. I mean, you play him, we spend 2 practices just on bunting. But what he did, I mean, it was incredible. But when you're up 9-2, and Ronan has just been a guy the last 2 weeks. And, I think the moment might have got to Ronan a little bit. Once again, pitching coach comes back and, he was a little nervous. Yeah. 9-2, you should feel real good. But not Coach Dumont's squad, man. He was, I mean, they just kept coming and coming and coming. And, we had to go to Lincoln, and Lincoln's Lincoln. But that's the most pitches he's thrown this year. He started a couple games, had a bad hamstring when he started 2, but he's been our closer. But I mean, he was pushing that 60 pitch mark. But then again, that goal that he had in his mind, he wasn't going to lose. So,
I love it.
but it
That
worked
was
out.
the one thing, going back to the one play, the single, when I looked over, because I was watching the play, I looked over and I see the young man on the ground. Who was that? Who was
Barrett Jones.
Jones on the ground? What I thought was heads up was the runner behind him. It's easy not to be paying attention and run past him, right?
Right?
And
Yes.
I thought that was one of the biggest heads up scenarios in that moment, because if you're focusing on the ball, you come around, all of a sudden you don't maybe pick up what's going on. You get past him, you're in trouble there. And he's hollered, get up, get up. And he didn't go past him. He didn't. So there was a lot going on in that play that I thought went very, that could have gone wrong, like you said, for you. But I thought that was the biggest moment. He didn't overrun the guy. He slowed up. He saw the situation. And I don't know, what was going on with the umpire there. I'm not quite sure that, what that was about. But that was one of the kookiest plays I've ever seen in
Yes.
baseball.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
never
Nick's
seen
like Nick's baseball IQ's off the charts. And once again, the ball I think was off the wall. I don't know where the
that.
umpire was going, but I mean, I get it. He's got to go out, he's got to go out there. And it was just a real unfortunate situation that could have been bad.
Yeah.
But and it worked out in the end. Thank goodness.
Yeah, and it's tough, and maybe he thought he was out far enough, but sometimes it's as an umpire, you got to really push yourself to make sure you're not in that play that way, and it's tough. It happens. There he
Yeah.
is.
No. Yeah.
So we're joined now by Mr. Kevin Moulder. Kevin,
Hey guys.
fresh off.
Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Tim, I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good.
Fresh back
Very
from
good.
the state games.
Yeah. Had a full day of it
Oh.
yesterday over at Mizzou. Had a great day though. Had about
Yeah.
135 players and a lot of talent, so it was fun.
We've just been chatting up about the state championships, Kevin. Going over some of that. I'm sure you got some thoughts and some questions you could like to throw at Coach McElligott.
Yeah, got to see a lot of good baseball over that week. So we were there for the 3, 4, 5, and 6. Missed the 1 and 2. Unfortunately, it's a long week of it, as you are well aware, obviously.
Yeah, especially when you get into some of those that go to midnight 30.
Right.
Oh yeah, yeah. But we were talking, Kevin. We were just talking about the one play with as Coach put it, the 352-foot single.
Yeah, I'm sure no one feels worse than the umpire, and that's one of those plays. Yeah, that's an unfortunate deal. Thankfully, and not that I was rooting for a team, but thankfully it didn't affect the outcome, and those runners ended up scoring anyways later. But that's a play you don't see very often. That's a big park, and for a guy to have a single on a ball off the wall there was
Yeah.
pretty crazy. And I'm sure no one felt worse than the third base umpire.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
he did.
in a positive, I talked to Coach afterwards. I'm like, you know what, in a crazy way that honestly showed how aware your team was, and it was good base running by your guys, because there could have easily been a situation that could have been a lot worse than they just scored 1 run and the bases were still loaded. Someone could have passed somebody. There could have been, they could have relayed the ball back in and got one of those runners out, hung up in between the bases, and the runners all held their ground and got back to the appropriate base, and showed a good deal of awareness there, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of awareness.
Coach, we're talking about You had 18 total runs scored between the two games, the semifinal and the championship game, 18 hits. Offensively, coming into that game, had you guys been swinging the bats that well, or was this?
It was something new. I mean, something new. We all year we relied really on pitching and defense. I mean, when you get Cole, Nick, Ronan, a Lincoln, Gabe Rogers, our third baseman, he's going to UCM to pitch. I mean, if you can play behind him, they don't need much. That the district tournament, our scores were a little lower, and then of course Glendale, you squeak that out 2-0 on a sac fly and a single. So we weren't really hitting, very well going into it. But it was weird. The top of our lineup's really good, but the bottom of the lineup really picked us up when the top wasn't hitting. Carson Bushman, our right fielder's coming back. He did some good things in these last couple of weeks. Alex Biermeyer, our left fielder, he did too. But it was a total team effort, all the way from districts on, which we like to see.
One thing I noticed about your team, and that's a great point about the bottom of the lineup, because a lot of teams, especially as you get deep into the postseason, will have some quote unquote star players towards the top or the middle of their lineup. But the teams that generate the most offense can do it up and down the lineup. And you had contributions from 7, 8, 9, and obviously the top of the lineup as well, because you have some of those quote unquote star type players in your lineup as well. But finding a way to get 1 through 9 contributing as a unit is huge. And you guys also have the ability to play a 1 or 2-1, a 1-0 or 2-1 type ball game with your pitching and defense. But then if it comes down to it, and like the championship game, and it turns into a slugfest, you guys are well equipped for that, weren't you?
Yeah, we were. And like I said, that's just, we kind of talked about it earlier. We returned a lot of those guys from last year. I think we really only lost 2 or 3 players off that last year's team that got real close to the Final Four. And, that moment prepared them, playing Nixa and Logan's team last year. And they just, like I said, they were goal driven from day one in November to February 28th when we started and all the way through. But it was good to see, somebody would always pick somebody up. And that's pretty much it, all year long with us.
Well, I thought, go ahead, Kevin, you were going to say something.
No, go ahead, Brian.
Well, I'd made a note before we started looking at both the sheets from the box scores and whatnot, and it was, I'd made a note. It was the bottom of your lineup in Game 1 against Howell, and it was the entire team in, up and down guys just putting the ball in play, hitting the ball. Your shortstop, McConnell. He was 2 for 3, had 3 runs scored, an RBI, just taking care of business. And what's interesting to me is as you said, and Kevin, we've talked about this, this is a heavy senior squad. You had 8 starters that are seniors on that championship game. And that's a testament to the program and these kids going through the program, being there, understanding, and you hope that that's what happens when they become seniors. They gel at that moment and take that ride.
Yeah, it was, like I said, Cole, Nick, and Lincoln have started from day one. And then, you throw in a Biermeyer, a Gabe Rogers, Drew McConnell. They're 3-year guys. Ronan kind of came up and down as a sophomore, but we were very heavy with experience. And we took our lumps. I mean, we knew that when they came in as freshmen, if we're going to do this, we just got to commit to it. And we did, that first year was a little rough. Last year, you kind of saw everything that we were doing kind of come to a head to get so close. And then it culminated this year with that group who's going to be bonded forever now. So going to be more proud of them.
Coach, we're going. Go ahead, Kevin. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I was just sitting here thinking, and one common denominator it seems these state champions typically have, especially at the 6A level. You guys have really been in the fire, and probably for multiple years. Just the competition, just to get even out of your district, is fierce. Blue Springs South, Lee Summit, like your path was extremely difficult. And this had to have been a multi-year process just building to this point. But we talk about this in District 8 all the time with Liberty North, Staley in particular, how battle tested those teams. And your situation is really similar, honestly. And you had to beat a good Glendale team to get down through as well. And um, just running through a lot of that talent. You guys also played the Liberty Norse and those guys, leading in your season, just playing a phenomenal schedule. And you don't see many teams, you get to the Final Four and pretty much everyone finished with double-digit losses. So no one's having, the 28-3 type season, but challenging your ball club. You learn a lot about your team, and you're forced to use the depth of pitching, which ended up you needed to make that final push to the championship.
Yeah, and we started something our conference it's a grind. And we went to 5 teams total 2 years ago. So we set it up like a college format. You had to go Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That was your conference schedule. And when you come out of the first weekend of the season and you got P.B.R and Blue Springs South, and then you're facing Ryan with Liberty North, you're facing Jay with Lee Summit West, and Ray Peck has 3 Division I arms, all left-handed. That really, I don't know of a tougher conference in the state of Missouri. And then we go to Lawrence. Mike Hill from Free State runs that tournament up there, and it's incredible. And I kind of joked with him this year. You really kind of put us through the gauntlet up there, playing Blue Valley, and we saw that Westfall kid going to K-State, Free State. I mean, it's like we got everybody's one. All the time, and I was kind of, do you guys have anybody else, but it is hard. I mean, and that's what we kind of told them, you're not going to win every game, and Mondays were bad for us. I don't know whatever happened, and back ends and double headers were bad for us. But you were just so battle tested with that schedule, and that's why we set it up. We set it up that way to where if you get to this point, you're ready for anything that's thrown at you. If Lafayette jumps out on 2 and then scores 6 and now it's 11-10, how are you going to handle that situation? And Lincoln handled it great. With the Glendale kid, that pitcher, he was something. I mean, he was
Drew
really
Edgeworth.
good. And
yeah.
Yes, I stopped on my way to the bus and I said, man, I'm a fan. I'm going to follow you and keep your head up, because he had us all messed up that game. But you get that, but that schedule up until, it really helps us. Because our district with Justin at Rockbridge and Grain Valley had a great team. And, it was the same thing with Grain Valley. It's 3-2. We had to bring Lincoln in with the bases loaded, struck a kid out, gets out of the 7th, and we win. So they were ready. Like I said, at the end of it, you got Cole, Nick, and Lincoln leading, and Drew McConnell leading his team. I mean, Cole said it. They wanted a ring, and there was no stopping them. And those 4 kids and everybody, all 19 we carried. They were ready for this, and it all worked out in the end.
Quick strategic question for you, since we're it is now over with. Was your plan heading into the tournament to start both the Gibbler brother? Were you going to start Cole game 1 and Nick game 2, or was that kind of planned out that you were going to go with Nick after Cole if needed for game 1, do whatever you needed to do there?
We were going to do that. That was our plan. I was hoping Cole, Cole's been so good. He told me after the Glendale game, he goes, I'm not coming out of the next one. I mean, because we had to get Cole in the 6th against Glendale. And in 4 years, he's only maxed out once, and that was against Blue Spring South in the district game. Cole's very efficient with his pitches. I mean, he doesn't ever throw that many. But our plan was if Cole can only go 6, Nick would be in relief. We kind of learned that lesson last year with Nixa. We had Nick ready to go. We were trying to get Nick a clean inning, and we just couldn't get it done. And, we weren't going to make that same mistake again. So our plan was Nick. And like I said, Ronan, last couple of weeks, Ronan's been, he was popping 94 against Blue Valley North that last week of the season. So we felt very confident with Ronan and Lincoln on the back end, if we were to make the championship game. So
it's nice to have good options.
It was nice to have good options, yes. And the 5th option was Gabe Rogers, and he didn't throw. I don't think he threw in the state tournament, district, sectional, or down there. So,
wow.
And that's a good 5th option. So
yes.
Gotta love depth, Kevin. Gotta love depth.
Oh, it was something. It was something.
Coach, I know we caught you here with your camp. We're going to get you out here on this, but I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us, and I want to say congratulations again. It was a lot of fun. I got to meet Coach McElligott. You can go back, check out this podcast with him. And you mentioned Kurt Bragg. That's one of the most interesting individuals to talk to I've seen in a while, Coach.
He hates that stuff. Well, Stiegel he tricked us all when we met in April about, we're just going to have a little baseball round table, and Kurt's seeing all this equipment come in, and he's panicking, and Stiegel looked at us, and we were like, you lied. And he goes, well, you all wouldn't have come. And Bragg was like, no, I wouldn't have come. And then you put him in front of it, and he just starts talking. Oh, he is a hoot. I mean, you got to get him on again, because once you get him going, he'll start. It's just getting him there is the hardest part. So he's a great guy, man.
Oh, so Coach, we're definitely we got to get you on the schedule next year. I know it. You got a lot of new guys coming, but I definitely want to get out there in the West and get you guys on a Missouri Showcase again. I think it'll be a lot of fun. We appreciate.
We welcome you anytime you want.
We appreciate you taking the time today. Kevin, any final thoughts there for Coach McElligott?
No, congratulations. A lot of fun to watch. Really impressive run.
I appreciate it. I really do.
Coach, thanks again. We're gonna hopefully get Coach McGee in here. We'll see, but we'll let you get back to your 100 young players out there.
They're all out there.
Working on the next championship out there.
The next champion, yeah. 2 more years, I'm out of here. So riding off into the sunset.
I love that. I think that's a great thing, because just real quick on that note, we just saw Coach Darren Sissel, assistant at Francis Howell, retiring. His son, Titus, of course, his last season. You kind of looking towards that with your son, a sophomore this year, going to be a junior, senior. That's got to be some, as you're going into, are you thinking about that right now? Or is that just leaving it there?
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, he started 21 games for us. He's going to be a good player. It was a lot harder coaching your kid than I thought. But he handled it great. He's one of the key guys coming back. He understood, the situation there were, and it was great. These seniors took him under his wing, Cole and Nick especially. And he learned how to win, learn how to work, which is good. And it's only going to get him better. And I'm looking forward to the next 2 years. and then he and I will walk out together, and I finally just get to be a dad and go watch him play at the next level if that opportunity happens for him.
There you go. And also, Kevin, as we know, Coach Wilson is doing the same thing with his boy, Lucas Wilson. I think that's a cool thing. I love that. I really do. I think it's a cool thing for that to happen. And so we'll look forward to it, Coach. Again, we'll let you get back to the curtain climbers.
There you go.
And
there you go.
Again, congratulations, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for everything.
Absolutely.
So this area back here is basically production. They do a lot of the artwork back here. They do the production. So any of that stuff that comes in off of, we'll say, our fanware stores, stuff that comes in off the team stores, a lot of the coaches wear, a lot of the last minute, hey, we got to have it in the next 10 minutes stuff. That's all comes back here. This area is where all the day-to-day stuff that comes in really goes through. The retail store is its own little entity. This is where the real work is done.
But let's. I'm hoping to get Coach McGee on here, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Willard, Kevin, man. Now there's a team that was 32. They only had the 4 losses all season. Winning the state championship in 2 grinding games. That was an impressive run for Willard this year.
Yeah, and they had to earn it in the championship. That's for sure. They finished, I believe, 32-5. And that's a team that goes out and challenges themselves throughout the year. And then with them being 5A, they do play. They do run up their win total a little bit because they play some of the smaller schools locally and regionally as well. But yeah, they're not scared. They'll go play. They're in that Columbia tournament, which is all heavy hitters. They play the good Springfield teams, and they're certainly a battle-tested group. But yeah, they would kind of be the exception to the rule. They finished, I think, third with 34 wins, counting the 2 state championship W's there. But without question, their semifinal game was the wildest game of the weekend, I would say, or at least craziest finish. And then the finals game, we're sitting there 1-1 in the 4th versus Webster with a great baseball game. And how cool was it that Coach McGee's son, Jarrett, got the go-ahead RBI base hit to put him up 3-1. And, then they extended the lead a little bit in the later innings to end up winning 5-1, but that was a great game as well. But high suspense, high drama in both of those ball games.
I feel for Coach Friedel in both those games. He had a couple of base running mistakes in both those. The one I don't know was a mistake. I think in against Willard, he just slipped and fell.
You mean against Kearney? They slipped and fell.
Was that Kearney?
In the third place game, they slipped and fell. Yes, that was unfortunate.
I thought that was against because. Oh, that's right. Yes, you're right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that would have been the tying run, and he would have scored had he not slipped and fell. But that unfortunately, that type of stuff happens, and it did happen at an inopportune time there for Zumwalt South, who had an unbelievable year. And those guys roll in 30-4 into the tournament and go 2-out. But what a great run by those guys. And they were so close to winning a state championship. They have Willard. They have nobody out in the 7th inning, runners at 1st and 3rd, opportunity to tie the game. They did hit a ball out to center field, and the base runner didn't tag up. It was a line drive, and his first break was towards home. Had he gone back, he most likely scores on a tag up. And
Yeah,
then they get to 2 outs, and they try something, which no one will fault you, for trying something. And we don't exactly know what type of call was on. It could have been a forced balk play, could have been a straight steal home, and the runner at third just shut it down because he didn't think he had it. But regardless, Willard is very good at executing just the small nuances of the game. And they had a left-handed pitcher on, which can be a great time to try a forced balk. He handled it beautifully. Stepped off the back of the rubber, got the ball to the third baseman, who made a good throw to the catcher, and they nailed the runner with, it wasn't a close play. It was not a debatable play whether he was out or safe, but plenty. And this is why Willard's in this situation, and this is why, all those teams get to that point. They're able to execute plays like that throughout the course of the season. They're playing teams that, balk or throw one of those away. But Willard was able to handle a tough situation in a high-pressure moment.
And what's interesting, Willard, both those teams, Sumwalt South, Willard, I think even Kearney, pretty senior-heavy teams.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a testament to these programs and why they were there. They were senior heavy. They were a lot of leadership. And I think that's why these were all real close ball games.
Yes. The one, especially at the 5A, the one of the 6A that had a decent amount of young guys was Howell. Now, they had some great senior leaders in Sissel and Alex Bryan, specific Grayson Coleman. But they have a young group that's coming back as well, with Leo Humbert and Dylan Curtis, Jake Brettschneider. There is, there is a lot there. I know I'm leaving a couple guys out too.
I'm sure it's hard to point them all out.
Braden Ray is back. Jackson Vaughn, commit from Wichita State. I knew if I started naming guys that I would get myself in trouble here.
And, to your point there, Kevin, that was a tough one, for that Francis Howell team with Humbert and Jackson Vaughn going down with injury. We know that Humbert tried to gut it out in the championship series. You could tell he wasn't quite himself.
Well, you have a long layoff like that. That's tough to get thrown into that situation. But if you're Howell, he's such an impact player, and even if he's at 60%, he's still creating. He can do stuff that other guys can't, and if nothing else, he's a presence. Eli Skidmore, junior right-hander, St. Louis U commit, will be back for them as well. So that they are again loaded to bear for next season.
And then Jackson Vaughn hurt his shoulder about 3 weeks before, or a week and a half before all the district playoffs started. He got an at bat, and coach put him into pinch hit. And even with kind of a bum shoulder, that kid hit one to the wall. It was caught, but boy, did he put a charge in. And that's, as you said, that's a big ballpark. I thought, oh, wow. So Howell's missing those two big bats in the middle of their lineup, and I think it hurt him a little bit in this tournament.
Unquestionably, that had a huge effect. But they did make their run without those two. Yep. Through districts and sectional, so they're not one to make excuses. They have a deep program. No one's going to feel sorry for those guys. It was unfortunate they were missing a couple of their better positional players, along with Titus Sissel. But That's the that's how the state championship works. It's going to test the depth of your program, and this year Blue Springs ended up being the champion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I like the fact, and Willard, you look at Willard, they had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So, I was going to say one more thing. And I know we talked about it down the state tournament. I feel like we were robbed of a phenomenal semifinal game between Blue Springs and Francis Howell. And not that it wasn't, but just a little bit unlucky with the rain and all the delays. It would have been a lot of fun to see Cole Gibbler go uninterrupted versus Alex Bryan, and in the depth of the Howell bullpen. That would have been a phenomenal game to watch. Or I would have liked to seen it in fair conditions. That's basically what I'm saying. And again, hats off to Blue Springs. What the Gibbler boys did there was really impressive. Part of it's stuff I would have loved to see Cole Gibbler be able to throw more than 2 innings without a driving rain while he's pitching.
There he is. Mr. Scott McGee, head coach of the champion Willard Tigers. Coach, did you pick a good one? You want to tell the folks what you guys were doing?
Yeah, sorry, we were getting fitted and picking out our championship rings for our state championship. So trying to talk the kids out of the 6X Georgia Bulldogs national championship style ring down to a more manageable size. But yeah, it's a fun process for sure.
That's cool, man. That's just cool. I love that. That's why, Kevin, we don't mind, right?
Who's a part of that process, Coach? Is that you and the athletic director? Do you involve your kids in that?
We involve our kids, which makes it a lot harder,
Yeah, a lot of opinions.
A lot of opinions, and a lot of times, the loudest voice tries. At the start, the loudest voice was winning, but we were able to get it down to a more democratic process. But so yeah, our assistant coaches are involved. My wife's involved. She's basically an assistant coach as well. So you're just doing all that kind of stuff.
Well, and that's true. Going down there this week, you got a lot of voice, but you love that. Your wife was so nice when we went down there for the live stream, helped us get where we needed to go. Gotta love the wives, the moms, the baseball moms, right? Without a doubt, it doesn't stop at the youth level, does it, Coach?
No, the hard part is breaking them away from the youth mindset of the parents have just as much say as the coach, because a lot of times the coach is a parent, to turning it into, okay, now we want you back somewhat involved. The good news is when you're dealing with juniors and seniors, they're not afraid to tell their mom or dad, hey, leave me alone. But so we've had a lot of help. You guys have ran baseball programs and organizations at every level. And to think that you could get everything done with just your head coach is just not feasible. And so I think the head coach has to fill in the gaps a lot of times. I've got a couple of assistants right now who are just unbelievable baseball people. Like they could coach baseball at basically any level, and they're really good coaches. And so now my job becomes a little more of a CEO and organization type guy. And then I do involve some other people that, in their areas of expertise that works out. And so, yeah, there's a lot of help.
It's no wonder you guys are having such success. I love that. That's an understanding of structuring your organization. We saw in the stands, Kevin, we've talked to it, all the young kids that were there, both at the semifinal and at the championship game, and hanging in there, especially at that late game. Fans were still there supporting you guys. That's a testament to the program, Coach.
Yeah, thank you. It really is cool how many people are involved. When that game kept getting delayed, and I was honestly shocked all day. I just kept thinking they were going to go ahead and cancel the last 2 games, and I bet Howell was wishing that was what would have happened. Getting it back to Sunday and canceling the third place games. Whenever we have traveled, when we played at O'Fallon in 2013, I liked the third place game. Same thing in 2019. I liked the third place game. But as the local school, the third place game just feels like a jamboree almost. So it wouldn't have affected us necessarily to cancel the third place game. But I do know for people traveling in, I'm sure Tony wanted to be in the championship game, but it's also nice that he knows he's got one last game to coach his guys and appreciate them, and they get to appreciate the job he's done. I think whenever you look at it, this was like our, I don't know, fifth or sixth Final Four. To think of how many Tony has is just unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, the job he has done in this state is really, really great. Sorry, I just kind of rambled. I talked about everything.
No, it's dead on. And I was going back to the youth program you guys have, and I was just thinking about. I'm sure that whatever it was, 8 years ago, those kids were doing the same thing of the kids that were running around and terrorizing people with those beach balls that were being thrown in the stands, like, for fun. And I was just like, yeah, in 7-8 years, we're gonna be watching them in the state finals sometime too, most likely.
Yeah, it's really cool. We have so many pictures and videos of these kids who've traveled up to O'Fallon to watch. Drew Quinlan, who hit in the 2-hole, he was in the stands in 2013 up in O'Fallon, and now he's winning his state title. Our guys that went up in 2019, 4 of them had T-shirts made up about being in the Final Four. So 4 kids did that in 2019, and then they all 4 played in the Final Four this year as sophomores and juniors. So it's really, really pretty cool. There's some advantages to being in a one-school town. That we get kind of almost that class 1 or 2 mindset when it comes to some of that. If you're at some of these other schools, you don't necessarily even know what high school you might go to someday when you're a 4th grader. But the fact that they're right there really, really helps.
I think I saw a video, and I'm almost certain it was young Willard kids of a baseball youth team that was maybe in a tournament or something, and there was a bunch of I don't know, 9-year-olds or so that were watching the game on TV, and I saw them dogpile after you guys won, like in a hotel lobby or something like that, and it was pretty cool. But in all sincerity, it does create like a mindset of like, hey, this is what we do here, and like you start brainwashing these kids. I say that term lovingly, like 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. We win here, and we're going to play in a Final Four. You're going to get that opportunity at some point during your time here, and it just becomes almost like an expectation. It's like that's what we're doing here, guys.
Yeah, so our 10-year-olds, they had actually gotten into a tournament down in Springdale, Arkansas, and they had even talked about canceling their tournament. And it was kind of one of those that happened so late that they were going to have to basically pay for the tournament whether they showed up or not. So they went ahead and went. Dad goes out and buys a big screen TV. And puts it in the hotel lobby on Saturday night. And, they ordered food. They all got together to watch the game. They're also listening to the radio broadcast as they go. And MSHSAA TV did a good job with the TV broadcast. But then when they won, it was this dog pile. The next day I'm getting emails because our youth camp's in 9 days. And it was, hey, will the players be there to sign some autographs for our kids? It's kind of cool. I had a conversation with Drew Quinlan, and he said when he was in 2nd grade and he went to a Final Four game, he viewed the varsity like they were major leaguers. Like it was like seeing Mike Trout live. Just, and you just kind of get to do that. And I don't think high school kids probably appreciate that as much. They don't realize that when they don't remember watching it, but whenever you get a chance to be around those young guys, they just look up to you so much.
I'm going to say this here because, Coach, what you're talking about, to me, it's impressive. And we have a different culture today a little bit in youth baseball that I think this right here, we have clubs and all that, but, man, how can these clubs in these bigger scenarios help this process? Do you have a bunch of kids going to the same high school? Put them all on the same team, man. Work with the coaches. Do this. I think it makes the brand of baseball, these kids coming to the high school level and what you're creating. I know Nixa does it. Coach Hughes talks about it a little bit. I'm sure there are clubs, I don't care if a kid plays for a club team, but how do we organize this a little bit better and create some of these opportunities? I love what you're talking about there, and I think it's so cool to hear that. And how can we at the lower levels, we see some, but it's mostly, as you said, class 1, 2, 3, the smaller schools outlying the bigger cities that are creating these opportunities.
Unfortunately, what we've done with club baseball, and there's some outstanding organizations out there. This isn't an indictment on the organization. But what happens is the three best fourth graders from one team decide, hey, think of how good we'd be if we also picked up the three best fourth graders from our main rivals. Now you've got six really good players. Then they go pick up a couple more. Now the team is so good that they can't play locally. So now they've got to travel all over the Midwest to play. And it's kind of a self-defeating thing where if we kept those kids maybe a little more regionalized, that we could have something. And that's not club driven necessarily. That's not a club that's doing that. That's a lot of parents driven. If clubs don't meet that demand, then they're going to lose their quote unquote better fourth graders. And you guys know as well as I do that sometimes your better fourth graders are not your better seventh graders, which are not your better sophomores. And if we could keep those kids, as you said, maybe playing with their regional, there were some real flaws in American Legion baseball. There were some real flaws in Little League baseball. But what they did have right was what you're talking about right there, is getting to build that. And I think that would be a great model. And when you look at some of these, kind of from a global standpoint, when you talk about Curacao, when you talk about some places in the Dominican Republic, that's what they do right, is their 12-year-olds stay together and they play, and the best kids are with the worst kids. And you could do some things like that I think would be really beneficial.
That's a real, yes. Coach McGee just hit on a ton of great ones, and that we could get real deep on some of this stuff for sure. But it is interesting, and that's certainly an advantage that Willard has right now. And there's multiple other programs in our state that do a really good job with it as well. But it is noticeable, and you can tell a difference. It doesn't automatically translate every single year, but over the course of time, it definitely pays high dividends.
Well, I think we get, Kevin, to your point, we get caught up in the fact that, I should win a state championship every year. Well, and I always relate this back to a Major League Baseball where you have the best players across 32 teams, and there's a team winning 50 games in a season. So, does it always translate into what we call winning? No, it doesn't. But can you create a consistent success? Can you create an understanding of how you work together with people? Because many of these kids are not going to play Major League Baseball. In fact, 99.6% of them are not ever going to sniff professional baseball. It just doesn't work. So I think the goal has to be within this construct, and that's why I love talking with you, Coach, because it's a lot of fun, and I like what you do that way. How are we creating opportunities to build culture and understanding of what we take into our next venture of life? Kevin, you've done this. You coach college baseball, and there's all kinds of opportunities within that. But how many kids did you coach that went on to the major leagues, but yet have successful careers in other facets?
100%. I guess coached 16 years collegiately. I coached 5 major leaguers in that time. So and none of them are household names, and they all have to have a career after. That's the other thing. Make the big leagues. What percentage of those guys even, make so much money? They're done. Most of these guys make the big leagues and get to play for a little while, and then have to go on and have a career in some field. Now, some of it's baseball, or some of them do other things, obviously. But the percentage of guys that make the big leagues have to find a way to earn a living after they're done playing. So it doesn't ever really stop.
I saw somebody had tweeted this out yesterday. Like, a lot of kids in high school baseball spend all their time focused on going to college. and then you make it to college and you spend all of your time focused on how do I get drafted, and you end up playing 7 or 8 years and you never really enjoy any of it because you're so worried about what happens next. And then you make it into the minor leagues, and that is a grind. If you talk to minor league guys, and I know Kevin coached several guys in the minor leagues, like, it is not a fun life. And for most people, 99% of people say, yeah, it wasn't very fun, and they're so focused on that next thing that they forget to just, how do I get better today? How do I enjoy what I'm doing today? And things will work out like they're supposed to. I bet if you told Kevin at the start of his career, pick 5 guys that'll make the major leagues out of the guys you've coached, he probably wouldn't have had the same 5 that actually did make it, because there's some circumstances, there's some luck, there is some just the game changes every couple of years, and so what they're looking for. I think a great example of that's what's happening with catching. Before long, major and minor leagues are going to be so into the automated strike zone that the great receiver may not matter. But in Division I baseball, every Division I coach is like, we got to have a good receiver behind the plate. The number one thing is we got to receive the ball well. So when that changes, it's going to change who gets drafted. So there's so much luck that goes into all of it that you better find a way to enjoy what you're doing now and to be sold out for what you're doing right now, because that stuff matters.
100%. And that's a great point on the catching too. Things evolve so quickly, and game changes, needs change, and what people are looking for change. And it's.
We're going to do this. Oh, I'm sorry, Kevin. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
I want to come back to the state championship, but because we could walk so deep into these woods, and we're going to get Coach McGee on back because I love talking to him, and we'll go walking in the woods, Coach.
Sounds good.
I want to ask you a question about the semifinal game first before we get to the champion. I feel like that's a natural way to address this. So, and I sat there and I really appreciate, like, I know most people looked at it and saw, oh man, it was a close play at the plate. The first and third situation was Zumwalt South. But I really admired the execution in the column under pressure. Your left-hander stepped off the back of the mound, back off the rubber like he was supposed to, handled everything perfect. And I just thought, I bet they've practiced so many times, and it was perfectly executed. Your third baseman cleared a lane, made a good throw to the catcher, who obviously applied the tag, and even a close play. So it was. Talk to us about just how well that was handled, and just the amount of preparation that goes into a play like that. Honestly,
we do practice that a decent amount. Part of it, we run some plays like that. But one of the interesting things our pitcher said is that when we practice that, he always starts with a fastball grip because you know what's coming, sort of, right? And we were throwing a curveball on that pitch. So he's coming set, and he's got his curveball grip in his glove, and then to step off and then kind of to throw on the run a little bit. He's a PO. Not a lot of POs can throw on the run. And then got the ball to our third baseman. And we knew Mendel's way faster than anybody we have on our team. So we have talked about, the general rule is you don't pump fake because it throws off the theme. We always have said we will pump fake when the base runner is looking right at us so we kind of start to run at him, and if he's still looking at us, we'll give a pump fake. And it kind of slowed Mendel just down enough to where we could then execute our rundown and make our throw. Just a thing where Larson did a really good job of handling that situation. It is something we practice, but next year we'll practice it where we'll make our pitcher have a curveball grip when they do stuff like that, because it's a little bit different.
Go back to the old basketball thing, just the knowing you do stuff so you know how to defend it. Teams at pressing often are good at breaking it because they practice it against it so often in practice, and no different in baseball with the first to third offense. You guys work on it, I'm assuming, a ton offensively. You know how to defend it as well because you're working on both sides of it, or exposed to both sides of it.
I think the same thing. Teams that steal a lot usually also are able to defend the steal well. Teams that bunt a lot can usually defend bunts. And that carries over to college baseball. I was talking to a Division II coach, and he was talking about how everyone who was stealing bases in their conference was also not allowing stolen bases. And the teams who don't steal we're also giving up a ton of stolen bases because it's like it's not a point of emphasis in their program. And so you can't emphasize everything. You guys know that there's only so many hours in a day, but the things that, first and third offense is something we spend a lot of time on. First and third defense is something we spend a lot of time on because, this year I think we played 12. So we played 12 one-run games. We went 11-1 in those 12 games. So we know that a lot of those one-run games are going to come down to plays like that. And, I thought it was a good call by Coach Friedel to try to do something in that situation, 9-hole up, 1-1 count. I'd actually, when it was first and third, nobody out, we were content to just give up the tie and try to take it to extras. The first kid lines out, but it was hit so low that their runner took a couple steps towards the plate and wasn't quite able to tag. And then first and third, one out with the 8-hole. When we got to 2 strikes, we started to prepare for a situation where they steal and we try to get a double play on the strike them out, throw them out. Once it got to 2 outs, I made the mound visit to talk about actually that exact same situation. Like if he sprints off, here's exactly how we're going to handle it. And that's the good thing about baseball is you get some time to kind of talk and you get some time in between plays that maybe you don't necessarily get in football or basketball.
Yeah, that's real. And you guys, man, this is the second time you guys have come down with Fort Zumwalt South in 21, now here again in 24. I mean, you guys have had some epic battles, and it's just tough. It's really good baseball.
It is. You can't say. I mean, Carter Cox. He had a shaky first inning, but he's a great competitor. I thought he had the best at bats of that game for either team. We had trouble. We thought we knew how to get him out. We didn't. He took some really good swings against us. Mendel's athleticism behind the plate was really impressive. The center fielder who has to bounce around and play some different positions that hits leadoff for him is a really nice player. And they just do a good job. They're athletic. They use their athleticism well. We knew it was going to be a tough game, and both games we played against them have been great, and we're just very fortunate we won both of them by 1 run.
Yeah. Coach, your seniors in your starting lineup, Landon Moore, Andrew Quinlan, Cameron Jennings, Hayden Rakestraw, Jacob, is it Heron?
Heron, yeah.
Heron, and Peyton Gayer. Those guys all year just were rock solid.
Yeah. Landon and Drew have kind of been the leaders of our team for a couple of years now. They know how to play the game. They're very intelligent baseball players. They're both going to junior college, where I think they just have an idea on how to take advantage of things. They got to improve physically, but they do a lot of good things. Kind of a cool thing. Peyton Gayer was a team leader, made a diving catch for us to start the state championship game. As a junior, he got 4 at bats. Which is more than what Jacob Heron did. He was our starting DH the second half of the season. As a junior, he did not get a varsity uniform. Like he was literally only in a JV uniform his junior year. We have individual player meetings, and we told him in February, hey, you might get 10 at-bats, you might get 40. Well, I think he ended up with 87 because we go to the Columbia tournament. You're playing 5 games in 2 days, and so you're trying to rest some guys. He goes out and has 2 hits against Staley. He goes out and does some things, so he earns a spot in the lineup, and once he got in the lineup, he just never stopped hitting. So those are the stories that I think are really cool. The guys who just stick with it to maybe not even quite see why. Like, why are you still playing baseball? You sit on the bench. But for those guys who just continue to work and work and work, and then they had huge moments for us in the Final Four and really all season. Heron had the big double against Nobi from Borgia. So it's really cool to see those kind of guys come through.
In over the course of a championship run like that, you get to the Final Four, and I'm guessing this isn't exactly how you draw it up, but you get forced into this situation, and perhaps like the tournaments, such as the Columbia tournament, when you're playing all those games in a short amount of time. Your pitching depth got tested. You were forced. It wasn't perfect. Cameron Jennings has been the bell cow for sure. But it wasn't like you used 3 pitchers, and you had to rely on your bullpen depth to bring home the state championship this year. So, talk to us about just the team being battle tested, and you were already kind of alluding to it, but in a perfect world, Cameron Jennings, I'm sure, throws a complete game shutout, and sometimes that stuff happens. That happened to Blue Springs too. Their guy Cole Gibbler only threw 2 innings, and they were tough enough to to overcome their ace not being able to go deep for them.
When coaches set up their schedule, one of the things that I think they should always do is try to have some weeks where you have 3 or 4 tough games where you've got to throw your number 3 or 4 against somebody's good lineup. Be willing to take some regular season losses. Jennings never had a bad outing all year, and I wouldn't say his semifinal outing was bad, but he did lose it in the 4th inning. I mean, he was cruising through 3. We add on a run in the top of the 4th to go up 5-0, and you're sitting there saying we got some time to play with, and he ends up walking or hitting 4 guys at an inning. He had never given up a 2-run inning at any point this season, and he gives up 3 in that one. And then you're kind of panicked, and so we went ahead and went to Larson, who was our other ace. I mean, they were 1A and 1B for us all year, and then they both do 62 pitches. So they're done for the tournament. And so then you're trying to figure out your state championship pitching rotation, and it's the other hard part is have your guys pitched in those roles all year. So we decided to start a sophomore named Levi Hilton, got a very bright future. Levi has been a starting pitcher for us. He has not pitched out of the bullpen. And so even though Adams was probably ahead of him in the pecking order, we wanted to keep guys in their roles. And so we started Hilton. We said when we run into trouble, we're going to go to Adams, but we didn't feel like Adams was going to be able to go 7. We thought he was a 60 to 80 pitch guy that day. And so starting Hilton got us 7 outs, and then we went to Adams, and he got us the last 14. But I think when you start setting up, and that's why you get in the Columbia tournament, that's why you get into these things where you might play conference game, then a district game, then another conference game on 3 straight days, so that your guys have to be in these scenarios because you just don't know in the postseason everyone's best laid plans don't necessarily come through.
Exactly. Yeah. That's we talked about the trends in baseball. You see Major League Baseball sometimes using the opener, and you kind of that makes a lot of sense. You got a sophomore that's used to starting, and you got a veteran guy that you lean on that can pitch, but maybe throwing those guys in reverse order might not have been as effective as how you did it. So that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
And you got and in the championship game, it's a bit of an unknown. I don't know how much you'd known about Webster Groves. I mean, it's a team. Coach Wiggins, shout out to Coach Wiggins, doing a great job with that program. Comes in and how do you measure that? And Kevin, you were going to say something there.
I was going to say, before the season started, there would have been, if we had a panel of supposed experts picking who might make the state Final Four, most people would have said Willard. No one would have had Webster in it. So heck of a run for them, and congratulations. They were eerily similar to you in style of play, I thought. Different, but and Wiggins even came up to me once when the match was like, they execute everything so well. And I'm like, yeah, they're a lot like you guys.
I actually told Coach Wiggins this after the game. They remind me so much of our teams that were in 2010, 11, and 12, where guys knew how to play. They just weren't real good players yet. But they knew what style, like they bought into our style. And so normally when we've played in the Final Four, we've been able to take advantage of some kids. I mean, from coaching some really high-level players, guys, that there's some kids who view some things as beneath them once they get good enough at baseball. If you go to your Division I commit as a senior and say, hey, I need you to take 2 strikes this at bat because we got to work some pitch counts up and we want to get some looks at his breaking ball. There's a lot of hitters who say, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm a Division I hitter, coach. If I'm going to hit the ball, they just view that or get on top of the plate and take and hit my pitches or being willing to push bunt or those kinds of things that maybe some kids view as beneath them. Webster Groves had 0 of that. Those kids were sold out to play the game the right way to win. They were scrappy, man. They were a really well-coached, well-executed team, and so that worries you a little bit. And we were a little more talented, and I thought Coach Wiggins just did a great job of getting them there. That's no fault of them. I thought the kid who's going to Maryville, who started against us, Patrick, threw the ball really well. We had some scouting report stuff on him, but he had only thrown 17 innings for the season, and he had missed arm side like crazy in his 2 previous outings. But he just came in and got dialed in and was able to throw the two-seamer in on her hand some, and the slider was just good enough to keep us off balance. And you just can't say enough about the job that Coach Wiggins did, because they were a very tough out. The game's 1-1 in the 6th inning, and you're sitting there wondering, how are we ever going to score a run because of how well they defended and threw strikes, etc.
And then it's 1-1 in the 6th, and one of my favorite moments of the whole week, you pull a sophomore off the bench who puts together a heck of an at-bat and brings home 2 runs that end up being the go-ahead winning runs. Talk to us about at-bat. Had to have been an extra special moment for multiple reasons.
It really was afterwards. We as coaches, we kind of,
He froze. No, Kevin's right there. It's just Coach McGee froze.
I thought it was me.
No. Hopefully we get that
Yeah,
story,
I'm
man.
up,
There he is. Coach.
there he is.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry,
go
I
ahead.
must have cut you. I'm sorry. I was saying that my other coaches, we get together, we talk. Jarrett was going to be our RBI guy off the bench. He's been that way for the last 4 or 5 weeks. I think he leads our team in on-base percentage. He just doesn't strike out. So we knew if we got in a situation where we could make them handle the ball, we wanted to do that. And so there really wasn't any thought process to it. It was like you start to lay out your inning beforehand. We get guys into scoring positions with 1 or 2 outs. We're going to go ahead and hit Jarrett. And so the play happens. He gets the hit, and we go up 2. And then you're kind of sitting there thinking like, man, your own kid may have just had the game-winning hit in the state championship. That's a really cool moment for him and for me and my wife. I mean, you guys know that being the coach's kid is not always the easy life that people make it out to be, especially if it's a real coach. Like, I know there's some dads who coach their kid just to make life easy for their kid, but whenever it's not done that way, there's a lot more criticism of that kid. Everyone thinks they're getting something they don't deserve. And so for him to be able to come through in that moment, just like he did for us so many times down the stretch. I mean, he was really good for us all year, especially the second half of the year, I guess.
That was a great at-bat, too, I thought. He took it to 2 strikes. It was not an easy at-bat whatsoever, and he just did a nice job working the middle there. And the middle's where the RBIs are. Like a true coach's son, he knew that and got the job done.
It's why you work on things. A lot of guys go in the cage, they just want to work exit velocities and stuff. But, he knew that if he caught the ball a little bit deeper, he was guaranteed to hit a ground ball. He's hit enough in his life to know that. The defensive shift that they were in, he wasn't necessarily trying to hit it right at the shortstop, but he was trying to hit it to get beat enough to hit a ground ball through the middle. And it ended up kind of following the hole and founding a hole. And this is why you hit year round. This is why you do that kind of stuff, is to have those moments. And it's cool for something to come through.
I love it. Coach, I want to say congratulations again. It's always a pleasure watching your teams play baseball. It really is. It's a lot of fun. We'll definitely get down there. I'd love to do another opening week with you guys. And for our live stream, it's a great venue, and we appreciate it. It'd be a great opening week, defending 5A state champs right there, right? We're going to have to find something to, hopefully Camdenton won't have an opponent that's got 5 broke arms or something like that.
Yeah. That matchup with Vernon was going to be fun until it wasn't. I feel bad for him. Hey, I don't know if you guys saw this. His oldest son had a great year at Wichita State. A great year, man.
Yes,
played
he did.
Extremely well. Yeah. Yeah, it's really, really pretty cool to follow all these guys now in college baseball, and just a lot of good baseball in our state. So
absolutely. So, want to say again, congratulations to the Willard Tigers, all the players, the coaching staff, the school, Coach Scott McGee here on the Class 5 MSHSAA State Championship. Coach, well done, well deserved.
thank you.
Kevin, any final thoughts for the coach?
No, congratulations. That was a heck of a ride and really impressive work and a lot of fun to take in last week.
Thank you very much.
So, Coach, be expecting that call. We'll go walking in the woods the next time. I love the conversation. Love it. So, Folks, thanks for tuning in. We do appreciate it. If you like what we're doing, please hit the subscribe button down there. Hit the like, share it out with your friends. We appreciate that very much. Until next time, everybody, have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, Kevin, give them some advice.
Keep throwing strikes.
Exactly. Coach McGee, give the hitters some advice.
Hit the fastball. When
There
you know
you
it's
go.
coming, you better be able to hit it.
I love it. We'll see y'all next time.